Welcome back to another episode of Celebration's Magical Moments. I'm Tim Foster, and this time we're going to be visiting another true Disney classic, It's a Small World. As always, if you have a favorite secret or little-known fact, be sure to share it with us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for even more Disney magic. So, let's head on over and set sail on the happiest cruise that ever sailed, It's a Small World. But before we begin, let's talk briefly about that name, because just like the TTA from our last episode, the name of this attraction is a story unto itself. As you saw in our opening, the name is properly spelled in all lowercase letters, enclosed in quotation marks. This was a stylistic decision to symbolize the idea of going on an innocent, carefree journey surrounded by the children of the world, with the exception of one older person, which we'll get to a little later. Curiously, the song itself is properly written with capital letters, as you might expect, but for the attraction itself, it's quote marks and small letters all the way through. And now that we've got that out of the way, let's begin our journey. As many Disney fans know, the distinctive look of It's a Small World comes courtesy of Disney legend Mary Blair, who also designed the mural in the Grand Concourse of the Contemporary and did much of the conceptual artwork for films like Alice in Wonderland and Sleeping Beauty. Now, every detail, all the way down to the dolls themselves, has that characteristic Mary Blair look to them, and we can thank her for creating a colorful, whimsical world that has been enjoyed by countless millions. But did you know that the actual doll costumes weren't designed by Mary Blair? Now, that may be a surprise to most of you, but the look of the dolls was actually designed by Imagineer Alice Davis. Though her work was certainly inspired by the designs of Mary Blair, it was Alice who designed the dolls' individual costumes. Alice Davis would go on to design the costumes for such other attractions as Pirates of the Caribbean, and she herself was named a Disney legend in 2012. So the next time you're riding It's a Small World, pay attention to all those zany shapes and brilliant colors around you, and you'll find yourself immersed in the wonderfully creative world of Mary Blair. But don't forget to give credit to Alice Davis for her work on creating the look for the stars of the show. Now, about that famous song. It might surprise you to know that the song itself wasn't a part of the original attraction, as it was designed for the 1964-65 New York World's Fair. In fact, the original name of the attraction was going to be Children of the World, and part of the concept was that all of the children would be singing their respective national anthems. However, during an early walkthrough, Walt Disney realized that this would create a mishmash of sounds that could barely be understood. Something like this. Yeah, that doesn't sound so good after all, does it? Fortunately, Walt turned to his trusted songwriting team of Richard and Robert Sherman and asked that they create a simple song that could be sung in a round. They promptly came up with It's a Small World, and that of course is a song we all know and love today. And just a quick note here, while some of you may tune out the song early on in your journey, do try and pay attention, as you'll hear that the song changes its stylings and instrumentation as you move from country to country. For example, you'll hear the dancing girls in France add "Ooh la la" after every chorus, and you'll hear a rhythmic backdrop to the song as you travel through the South Pacific. Now, Robert Sherman claimed that It's a Small World was the most popular song ever, having been sung and recorded more times than any other song in history. Now, this guy might have something to say about that because of a little song he wrote called Yesterday, which you might have heard of. But you can't argue with the fact that It's a Small World has been played at least 50 million times on the attraction alone. And let's admit it, you probably sang it a few times as you've been watching this. So let's take a moment to talk about the differences between the Walt Disney World version of the attraction and the one at Disneyland. The Disneyland version came first, of course, and in a renovation a few years back, several Disney characters were added to many of the scenes, including Ariel, Cinderella, and Lilo and Stitch. However, you won't find any Disney characters in the Walt Disney World version. Or would you? If you look closely enough at the carousel scene in the final White Room, you'll notice that each of the dolls is carrying a small item from their home country. Now, one of the dolls can sometimes be seen holding a tiny marionette, and if you look really, really close, you'll see that the marionette is actually Pinocchio. And I even swear I saw a little Winnie the Pooh once or twice, though I suspect it's just an ordinary teddy bear. But regardless, while the items seem to come and go over time, if you pay close attention you just might spot one. And if you do, congratulations! That's the one and only Disney character to be found in Florida's version of It's a Small World. But before we move on, I'll add one quick side note here. Some of you might be protesting and saying, "Hey, wait, what about that Donald Duck piñata in the Mexico scene?" Well, give yourself half a star. There is indeed a Small World-esque piñata Donald Duck at Walt Disney World, but he's actually in the Grand Fiesta Tour attraction in Epcot's Mexico Pavilion, which of course is very similar in style to It's a Small World. Don't worry though, we'll take a tour of that World Showcase attraction in a future episode. But for now, it's back to Fantasyland. And as we discovered, you can sometimes spot an actual Disney character tucked away into one of the show scenes. But at least we know there aren't any references to any real people, right? Well, that's not entirely true either. As you pass through the middle portion of the attraction, keep a close eye out to the left and you'll see... Hold on, back up. There he is. That's Don Quixote aboard his horse Rocinante, accompanied by his pal Sancho. Okay, so technically these aren't real people either. Rather, they were the main characters in the Spanish novel Don Quixote, published way back in the early 1600s. However, they do hold the unique distinction of being the only dolls that depict a specific non-Disney person in the entire attraction. Since the origins of It's a Small World go all the way back to the 1964-65 New York World's Fair, that would make it one of the oldest attractions in Walt Disney World, well predating the Magic Kingdom's 1971 opening. And for the most part, it's remained fairly true to its origins, though it has received some major renovations along the way, most notably in the rearrangement of the queue and the occasional paint job. But on the technological side, the attraction is pretty much the same as it was when it first opened. No, you won't find any state-of-the-art CGI or modern-day animatronics inside, and for those who love nostalgia, this is a great trip down memory lane. But there is a new innovative surprise waiting for you at the end of your journey. Keep your eyes open as you pass by the signs bidding you a fond farewell in several languages. If you look closely, you might notice that you'll see your name up on one of the signs. But wait, how did that happen? It had to be coincidence, right? Well, thanks to the magic of your magic bands, the Imagineers have added a personal touch to the end of your journey. Disney continues to innovate ways to make you, the guest, a part of the show, and if you see your name, it will certainly put a smile on your face. Now, if you don't see your name, well, shame on you for looking the wrong way or for playing with your smartphone, but don't fret, you can always ride it again. Just be sure to look carefully next time. And, incidentally, that also means we can crank up the number of times the song has been played to 50,000,001, give or take a few thousand. So in a way, you're helping to cement the attraction's place in history, and you thought it was a simple boat ride. Well, that's all for this episode of Celebrations Magical Moments. Don't forget to visit us at celebrationspress.com, where you can discover even more Disney magic with Celebrations magazine, as well as our series of collector's books and guides, including the Guide to the Mansion for Kids. So, join me next time as we take another journey through one of your favorite attractions. And in the meantime, keep on enjoying the magic.